Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, members of the public. My name is Councillor Tony Page and I'm the Mayor of Reading and I chair these council meetings. And first of all, I've just got a few announcements to make. Firstly, the webcasting announcement to inform everyone present that this meeting will be broadcast live on the internet and will be available for repeat viewing on the council's webcasting site. It gives me great pleasure to welcome Councillor Finn McGoldrick to her first council meeting following her election to represent Norcott Ward on the 3rd of August 2023. I'd like to welcome, is Keith Townsend here or not? No, he's not. Oh, right. I would have otherwise. Yeah. Right, that takes us on then to changes to committee and working group memberships arising from the by-election. I have a number of changes to the membership of committees and working groups to announce, which have been made under the monitoring officer's delegated authority. Councillor Finn McGoldrick has been appointed to audit social care, my apologies, I'm reading, has been appointed to Adult Social Care, Children's Services and Education Committee and the Audit and Governance Committee. On the Audit and Governance Committee, she has replaced Councillor Edwards. Additionally, Councillor Amjad Tarar will join the Older People's Working Group and Councillor Paul Gittings has been made the acting chair of the working group. I've got some good news to convey to the council, namely the fact that the council secured the award at the Institute of Revenue's Rating and Valuation recently. Reading's Housing Benefit and Council Tax Support Service made submissions for both the Benefits Team of the Year award and Most Improved Team of the Year. The team were recognised for their work in the Most Improved category, and whilst they didn't win that, they were highly commended in recognition of how far they had come. However, they did go on to win the Benefits Team of the Year award. There was an outstanding group of finalists, including the private sector, and it is an incredible achievement for Reading to be recognised nationally as the Benefits Team of the Year, and the leader and myself have already congratulated them, but I'm sure we would want to place on record the council's gratitude for the work that they all do. I just wanted to pass on the greetings from the city of Düsseldorf that I had the pleasure of visiting last month during the Invictus Games, which they hosted. The Oberbürgermeister Stefan Keller asked for his regards to be passed on to the council. I also had the pleasure of meeting Prince Harry during the event and wished him luck in his forthcoming court case against Rupert Murdoch. Moving on, the last announcement is I just want to, all members of the council will be getting an email about this, but Reading Family Aid Group are launching their Toys and Teens appeal on the 19th of October and are asking for gifts, nearly new or brand new, which they can then package and hand out to children in the borough. And last year they provided over 3,000 gifts to children in the borough. So I'll be emailing round. So if you can rifle your cupboards and find any toys that would be befitting, there's also a very handy chart which tells you exactly what they're looking for and what they're not looking for. So that ends the announcements this evening. Apologies for this evening have been received from Councillor Sarah Hacker and Councillor Clarence Mitchell. Are there any others? Nope, fine, okay. Then declarations of interest. To receive any declarations of interest, are there any? No, okay. Can I sign the minutes of the meeting held on the 27th of June 2023? Are those agreed? Fine, thank you. Right, okay. Right, moving on to the petitions. We have a petition from Kate Nicolina, who wants to present via, well, right. Have you dialed it? Right. Well, we either go 50-50 or dial a friend, don't we, at this point, or what? Yeah, oh, I see. Yes, that's right. Hello, Ms. Nicolina?
Yes.
Ah, good, right. Excellent. Do you want to present your petition? You have up to 3 minutes to present your petition. Over to you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Reading is a dental desert. Too many Reading residents can't get... Hello?
Yeah, carry on. We can hear you.
Hello?
We can hear you.
Okay, sorry for that.
There's something in the background. Have you got a radio on or something?
No. I've already muted it. Sorry.
All right.
Apologies.
Do carry on.
Too many Reading residents can't get an NHS dentist, and disappointingly, some of the NHS dentists we do have are getting rid of their NHS patients. People are left in pain, or they can, if they can afford, having to pay a large private dental bill in a cost of living crisis. Children and others entitled to free dental care aren't able to get it. This Conservative government has been asleep at the wheel over NHS dentistry. While knocking on doors, collecting names for this petition with my Green Party colleagues, it has been shocking to learn how many people can't get an NHS dentist and the impact this is having on them. Residents losing weight because they can't eat properly, people coming to Reading fleeing domestic violence who can't get registered, children going without, pregnant women forced to travel large distances. We welcome the trial that is running at Bespoke Dental, the new name for Gentle Dental, in Tilehurst. That means that certain groups, such as those who haven't seen a dentist for 2 years, or those who are new to the area, can get a one-off checkup or emergency dental care. But talking to people on the doorstep, no one knows about this, and I suspect that if more people did know, the limited slots would be overwhelmed. This trial should be promoted and expanded. We want Reading Council to lobby the Integrated Care Board and government and come up with a plan to tackle the dental desert that Reading has become. At the very least, the council should be doing more to promote the trial that is running at Bespoke Dental. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nicolina. I will ask Councillor Ruth McEwen, the lead councillor for Education and Public Health, to respond. Councillor McEwen.
Thank you. Firstly, I'd like to thank Ms. Nicolina for the petition. The subject of dentistry is of real concern to councillors and officers. The available data shows that there is indeed a clear need for the prevention of poor oral health and improved access to dental care in Reading. We all understand the importance of easy access to treatment when we need it, especially when we're in pain. We also recognise that there are many people in Reading who have trouble in gaining access to a dentist. It is important to recognise the role of the council and our relation to the commissioning of dental care services. As part of the integrated care system, the council has a prevention role in the promotion of good oral health, which prevents the need for emergency dental care. We do this through our public health offer to the system, which ensures that the commissioning of dental services is informed by oral health needs assessment that meets the needs of local people. Production of a refreshed oral health strategy commenced in 2019, and this work will be resumed as the local public health system is restructured. Meanwhile, we continue to collaborate with our NHS commissioning partners and to carry out preventative work by using the Ring Fence Public Health Grant mandated services to promote good oral health through the Health Visitors and Schools Nursing Contract and through toothbrushing packs for children's centres and nurseries. We've recently received a report from the Buckinghamshire, Oxfordshire and Berkshire West Integrated Care Board Commissioners that set out the current challenges facing the commissioners of dental care and dental practitioners as they manage the recovery from the pandemic. The surging demand for their services and a complex payment system, which is discouraging to those considering entering as a dentist into the National Health Service. Much of this is beyond the powers of the council to affect directly. The council will continue to work with the Integrated Care Board to ensure dentistry provision is targeted based on the needs of our residents within the remit of our role.
Thank you, Councillor McEwen. We now move on to questions from members of the public, and we have one such question from Richard Tredgett and Anne Daly to ask the lead councillor for corporate services and resources. I take it, Mr. Tredgett. Over to you. Thank you. I ask Councillor Terry to reply.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you, Mr. Tredgett, for your question. As stated in the question, there are approximately 4,000 households in Reading who are in receipt of legacy benefits and/or tax credits. Universal Credit is replacing 6 benefits called legacy benefits. These are housing benefit, income-related employment and support allowance, CCSA, income-based job seekers allowance, child tax credits, working tax credits and income support. The Department of Work and Pensions are undertaking this transfer through managed migration or where household circumstances change. Since April 2023, more tax credit only claimants are being asked to claim universal credit in order to continue to receive the benefit they are entitled to. This change is part of the plans to streamline and simplify the benefit system, with legacy benefits claimants moving on to the modern benefit system. On the 15th of September, a letter was sent to the Chief Executive informing the Council when the DWP will begin to issue migration notices to tax credit only claimants in this area. The Council has identified 610 cases where tax credits will be subject to the first stage of managed migration. We have a web page containing information on universal credit. It is in the process of being updated in relation to the managed migration, claimants' responsibilities and how to seek assistance in making a claim, and the link is in this answer. The page also contains an online benefit calculator to assist claimants. Where a universal credit claim is made, if the claimant is in supported temporary accommodation, the Council will continue to award their housing benefit. Where they are not, housing benefit will automatically cease and be replaced by housing costs within the Universal Credit Award. Council tax support will continue and there will be no need to make a new claim. We are reviewing our housing benefit notification templates. We intend to provide signposting on our Universal Credit webpage and encourage the use of the online calculator. We are not currently intending to undertake a direct mailing with our housing benefit recipients. The DWP will be responsible for this activity. We will, however, continue to monitor our communication strategy to determine whether it's appropriate to undertake a direct mailing with identified managed migration customers later. We will support any communications issued by the DWP and push out through our own channels as required. At this time, we have not received information from the DWP to advise when other legacy benefit types will begin the managed migration process. It is, however, anticipated that the managed migration will be completed by 2029.
Mr. Tredget, have you got a supplementary? Councillor Terry?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Obviously, the council will help anyone who contacts them if they've got the ability to do that at the time, but mostly we'll be directing people to organisations, in particular Communicare, who operate a drop-in service Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday, and in fact also have outreach places, so sort of in Whitley and in the town centre. So there's a number of places that they can go to get face-to-face support, which I'm sure many, when they find themselves in this situation, would prefer. We do, of course, have the Council's Money Matters page, which will offer some assistance on the benefit and assistance page. But I understand that the Money Helper website, the DWP run, offers some very suitable support. So in the first instance, I think it would be that. But as it says in the question and the answer, that we'll keep it under review. And if we need to do more, then we will look to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Tredget, for coming along this evening. Which takes us on to the two questions from councillors, the first of which is from Councillor Raj Singh to Councillor Rowland. Councillor Singh.
Thank you, Mayor. Fly tipping has been going on for years on a section of unregistered land near the Waitrose on Oxford Road and Roadway Road, RODWAY Road. I'm sure this spelling error is not costing millions of pounds like we have seen in the accounting errors. It is an eyesore and degrades the neighborhood. Additionally, the waste appears to be noxious, harmful, and source of pest infection. What steps is the council taking to deal with this problem, and when will they be completed? Thank you.
Councillor Rowland.
Thank you, Councillor Singh, for your question, which should give me an opportunity to highlight how our street cleansing team and enforcement team deal with fly-tipped waste on private property. For clarity, as you highlighted, there is no roadway road, as your question stated, but as you had mentioned near Waitrose, we have taken that you meant near Romsey Road. And so I will address primarily the land at 930 to 940 Oxford Road on the boundary of Waitrose, as you had raised that through a previous councillor inquiry. That land is not unregistered, nor is it owned or maintained by Reading Borough Council, but it is instead privately owned. May this also serve as a reminder not only to you, Councillor Singh, but to all councillors that precise clarity around defining sites is important in helping officers whose time can be wasted in chasing unclear locations. The council has a duty to keep the public highway and other council-owned land clear of waste. Cleansing operatives routinely empty the street litter bins, collect litter, and remove fly-tipped waste from public land. The council does not have a duty to clear waste from private property, privately owned land, or unregistered, unadopted land. Landowners have and should take that responsibility for their own land, and the council will get involved only when the waste is putrescible or is an ongoing exacerbated situation. The council does have a recycling and enforcement team that investigate litter, fly tipping, and other waste offenses around the borough, whilst also engaging with and educating residents regarding recycling and appropriate waste management minimization. The team prioritizes their enforcement activity on council land, such as highway, parks, and housing estate. But in certain private land cases, the team endeavors to identify private landowners and contact them to request that they arrange clearance of waste on their land. The land registry search for the site at 930 to 940 Oxford Road has shown that the land to the rear of the shops is owned by multiple different owners. Each Oxford Road address owner is responsible for the section of the alleyway that they back onto. Officers have reviewed the site and noted that the waste has accumulated appears to be mostly bulky waste consisting of furniture, white goods, and discarded Harris fencing. The vegetation is overgrowing in places, but the waste was not considered to be putrescible. The landowners of the sections of the alleyway where the rubbish is located have been written to requesting urgent clearance of their land within a set time frame and have been advised that a further inspection of the site will be made on the 10th of November. Community protection notices, or CPNs, which fall under the Antisocial Behavior Crime and Policy Act, not 2014, are used where the issue is unreasonable, of a continuing nature, and is detrimental to the locality. Failing to keep private land clear of large amounts of waste is considered to be those three things, especially in the more substantial cases and those that are attracting lots of complaints. Therefore, failure to remove waste from this particular site, if our initial contact elicits no action, will likely result in enforcement action being taken against the landowner in the form of a CPN, as it seemingly meets those criteria. It is our policy that if escalated to a CPN, they are given 28 days on a warning notice and then a further 28 days in the form of a formal notice. They would be allowed more time if they seem to be working towards compliance. The team will continue to monitor the site and the matter will be progressed should the landowners fail to take responsibility for their land. I do hope and trust this site is the one that you had inquired about. Thank you.
Councillor Singh, do you have a supplementary?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Thank you for your response. What do you have to say to the residents who will ask if the council put the community first, why it does not look at adverse possession laws under the Land Registry Act 2002, and does the council have responsibility also about the health of the neighborhood, and which is the core of the question of environmental and health issue? What do you have to say about that? Irrespective of land registered or not.
Thank you, Councillor Singh. Councillor Rowland?
I'm sorry, I'm not quite sure that I got every bit of that, but if I could just reiterate, you're asking about our duty with putrescible waste on unregistered land.
Well, we're not going to have a dialogue on this. Councillor Rowland, you can't ask Councillor Singh questions.
Well, I'll just, yes, I do understand that.
Well,
thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Would you want to finish your answer?
I will.
I would suggest the two of you might like to correspond by email, as would seem more appropriate.
I will. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That is my assumption to your question, and obviously, if it is putrescible waste, then we will seek to remove it, but it does follow through CPN structures. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rowland, and that takes us on to Councillor White's question to the Leader of the Council. Councillor White.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This question is on council overspend and failure to achieve savings. Years of cuts from the Conservative government have taken their toll on council services. Green Party councillors are concerned that so early on in the year, this Labour-run council is predicting an overspend of £3.8 million. It is also worrying that there is an increasing trend of non-delivery of budget savings, with only 42% on track or delivered this year. Each directorate has been tasked with developing a recovery plan with further savings, but if the council is only delivering 42% of the proposed savings, this doesn't bode well for the recovery plans. Can the Leader of the Council update us on progress with creating the recovery plans and how the Council is going to change its approach to make sure savings are delivered and the Council doesn't go bust?
Councillor Brock.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I thank Councillor White for his question. I'm pleased to see him taking an interest in budgetary responsibility, and I wonder if perhaps I might have rubbed off on him after so many years of his party only proposing additional expenditure drawn up on the back of an envelope. The council is not immune to wider pressures impacting on the local government sector, which include a cost of living crisis with pay and inflation pressures far in excess of what was anticipated when the budget was set in February 2023, with thanks to Liz Truss. Cost pressures arising from increasing demand and increasing complexity of need in children's social care services, increasing numbers of families presenting as homeless, and income still not returning to pre-COVID levels. It is often the case that the Q1 forecast paints a worst case scenario. However, the early reporting of potential financial pressures gives the council time to put in place steps to address the situation and to identify compensating savings. And I personally should always prefer this more cautious and even pessimistic projection. It's worth saying that many of the unachieved savings actually relate to income growth that has not materialised, car parks income, for example. There is no way to push such a saving from a red status to a green one, independent of the broader operation of the economy. But all the same, we budget appropriate contingency sums to mitigate the impact of this type of challenge and can seek further amelioration from other interventions where required. So the principal structural challenges are therefore those around increased demand for social care and for homelessness services. And it is here that I would call for a more considered response from the government. Our reserves position here in Reading is robust, and the projected overspend is comparatively modest against the size of our annual budget. But other councils are already in a precarious state and will not survive long. And one can simply look at the financial position of our Berkshire neighbours and the actions they've been taking in recent weeks to see the reality of this. Nonetheless, I would not be complacent around this in Reading. And I've seen what happens when councils just try to sit and wait for a Conservative government to help, a forlorn hope which is never realised. So accordingly, the corporate management team have been proactively working on developing recovery plans to identify options and mitigations for in-year savings. The results will be presented to the Policy Committee on the 13th of December 2023 as part of the 23-24 Q2 performance and monitoring report.
Thank you, Councillor Brock. Councillor White, have you got a supplementary?
Yes, please, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Brock, for your answer. Q1 ended some time ago, and so the council has had plenty of time to produce and implement measures to get the budget back on track. But the response from Councillor Brock is light on detail about what's been done so far. Is literally nothing been done so far, and the council spinning its wheels, creating plans, or has some action been taken that you can update us on?
Councillor Brock.
Plenty of action's been taken, but you know full well we'll wait and go through the proper governance processes and report it in the December Policy Committee in the proper, transparent, publicly accountable way. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
That concludes questions this evening. We now move on to item 7 on corporate parenting. Councillor Hoskin to move.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm really delighted to bring this report to the full council. I'm sure I trust and I'm sure that all councillors here understand the importance of corporate parenting. It's the most important duties that we have and are looked after and experienced care leavers. It should be at the heart of our considerations. It is a corporate parenting responsibility. It goes further and wider than councillors, but I think for us here, it's always really important to know that's a shared responsibility. What we've outlined here, so that's why I'm really pleased it comes here, and it's really important that we commit to the whole sort of range of things within this report. There's the when I came into the post of Lead Counsel for Children, I think one of the areas that we was generally accepted to work on and develop was around the corporate parenting panel, how that works, and some of the duties from that. We've had people come in to talk to us about it, and we've reflected and reviewed, and this is, you know, part of that response. There's stuff in here around the terms of reference, which is really important. I think the element I'd emphasise is the increased voice of looked after children and care experience as full members of the panel, and how the panel works. It's not just being full members, but the panel has to work so that that voice is heard and influences and directs what we do. And I think that's what we're trying to achieve in terms of reference are there. And I think the early signs of how we're working are really positive. Perhaps one of the most important elements, and something that we're all here to sign up to and commit to, are the promises to our looked after children and care leavers, which is page 55 on here. What is important to emphasise is that along with the terms of reference to the panel, this was very much developed with our children and is basically produced with them. It's a much better version than the one we had before. It's simpler, more direct, and I think it gives us the clear, well, basically lays out what we need to be doing, and it's really important that we're also held to account on delivering those promises, both, you know, within our sort of democratic and transparent structures, but also by our looked after children via the parenting panel and the work that we do with them. Really pleased to be bringing forward the proposal for the extra support for care leavers through council tax support. This is enhancing the scheme that we've had. I mean, we've just been talking about the financial pressures that this council's under, and you know, you'd have to be hiding under a rock not to realise that these are financial pressures that councils across the entire country are really struggling with, and they're very real. So I'm really pleased that we're making this this commitment to put this into the MTFS. We're not spending the money in this council meeting because we can't, but it will roll in to the budget process. And I think it is important. And what I think the key thing it does is about maintaining that support, you know, up to the age of 25, but still in a tapered way. It's not a cliff edge of falling off, but in a tapered way. And I think that makes a lot of sense. Within here, there's quite a lot. I said jokingly I should be given 20 minutes. There's almost full reports in here, but I will be brief and look out for the lights when they start to come on. A really important element of this, and it could be a council report in itself, is our proposal within this to recognise care experience as a protected characteristic. Now, I think many of us would believe this is something that should be happening at national government level. I think it's outlined within the report why this is important, but what it does, I think, you know, primarily is give the tools to us as a council to help to address some of those inequalities that our care experienced people face in our town, and it works in a similar way to the the legal protected characteristics process. It's not legally binding, but it will be binding to us in terms of our policy. So I'm really pleased to see that and how we develop in the future, and it does tie up to the things that we've been looking at in terms of.
Councillor Hoskin, you've got 30 seconds.
Oh, I thought I'd get a minute. Okay, in terms of the much more ambitious support for our care leavers. So we're reviewing the corporate parenting strategy, and that's coming forward later in the year, and is also really important. I'll probably add some stuff when I sum up at the end of this debate, but I hope you all will endorse this, get behind it, and make sure that we deliver on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hoskin. Do we have a seconder for Councillor Gavin?
Yeah, and I'll speak now if I may.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As corporate parents, the council, that's us in this room tonight, and all the officers who work for the council, have a collective responsibility to support and champion children and young people in our care, and those that have been in our care to get the same support and opportunities to grow and flourish as any other child. The question we need to keep asking is, would what we are doing be good enough for our own children? To that end, this report before us this evening has three strands, as Councillor Hoskin indicated, and which we're being asked to note and approve, which are aimed at making us better parents to this vulnerable group. Firstly, the updated terms of reference of corporate parenting panel, importantly developed with our children in care. It rightly focuses on our responsibilities and ensures that all services responsible for any element of our children's care be represented at a senior level. Indeed, the Chief Executive and the Leader of the Council now attend. Children in care and care leavers are also full members of the panel. Our promise to the children in care has been revised, and I hope you've all seen it, and I hope you've all clocked it, and I hope you've all printed it off, and I hope you've all stuck it on your fridge, because this is what you, me, everybody in this room is promising our children. The second element of the report, sorry, I've skipped, parents of adult children, if you've got adult children here, will know that when their children turned 18, they didn't suddenly stop depending on us for support, encouragement, advice, love, and of course, financial support. There is no parent who doesn't want to give their children a helping hand as they become independent adults, nor should we as corporate parents. So the second element of the report is the revised sliding scale of council tax dispensation, effectively raising the age at which it must be paid and a reduced contribution until 25. The report before us asks us to note this. I would like us also to endorse it as the right thing to do. It's a small, but for some it will be a significant helping hand, and we can give it to them, and we should give it to them. The third element of the report asks us to approve care experience becoming a protective characteristic. We know that care experienced young people can face inequalities and discrimination throughout their life. We know that care leavers have poorer outcomes and are 3 times more likely not to be in employment, education or training. So this is a significant step, and there are 50 councils around the country that have already taken this step. Why does it matter? Several reasons. It sends a very clear message to care experienced young people that we recognise their unique situation and the challenges they face. It is against the law to discriminate against someone because of a protected characteristic, and we would be saying that we wish to treat this protected characteristic in the same way. It will allow the council to measure and monitor the impact it is having to support our care experienced young people, and thus to provide the right support which makes a difference. This report is about recognising and acknowledging our role as corporate parents and setting out some really quite modest ways in which we can exercise our parental duties. I trust this report will be welcomed and supported across the chamber. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Gavin. I've got Councillors Robinson and McGoldrick. Is anybody else? Councillor White, okay. Councillor Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let me start by thanking, and I don't do this very often, the lead councillor and Brighter Futures for Children for the great progress and work in this showing in this report. And also thank you, Councillor Gavin. That's something else I don't normally say, for your words as backing up this particular report today. We certainly are more than happy to support every aspect of this report. I would say there was a question, and there's an awful lot of blank paper in here, which I was going to ask about, but obviously the key element's already in there. So for me, I'm more than happy to go along with this. As regards the council tax dispensation, when you leave care, it's a very stressful, it's a very anxious time. And I think certainly if we can provide any support financial wise to people leaving care, then that should be done. And as for the care experience to become a protected characteristic, certainly back this. There should be no discrimination based on the experience that somebody has during their young lives. So yeah, more than happy to back this and would ask other councillors to do the same. One particular thing that I'm really pleased with on the promise, the last part, make sure your voice is heard and listened to. And we see that now within the details of membership of the corporate parenting panel, the last part, a minimum of 2 and a maximum of 4 children and young people who are looked after by Brighter Futures and or Reading Care Experience young people. So to actually get the insight and the expertise and experience from people in care, the young children in care, is fantastic. And I certainly applaud that move. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Robinson. Councillor McGoldrick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As this is my first meeting, I hope you'll forgive me for taking this opportunity to thank the residents of Northcote for sending me here to represent them. And I'd also like to pay tribute to my predecessor, Colette Dennis. For those of you who knew Colette, you'll know how keenly her loss is felt, not just by our family, but by our Labour family and community as well. And I hope to do justice to the legacy she's left of service to her community and speaking up for those who are often overlooked. So with that in mind, I'm pleased to be speaking on an issue so close to my heart as an adoptive parent. This report on corporate parenting is incredibly important. And when considering it, I think the question we should be asking ourselves is, what does it mean to be a parent? As someone who never thought she would be one, it is the question I've reflected on perhaps more than most. Parenting is nothing more or less than wanting the very best for your child. And that is something we must surely all share in common, because the children in the care of Reading Council deserve nothing less than the very best that we can offer them. And I believe the recommendations in this report take us a long way towards that. Being a corporate parent can sound cold, even heartless, but it is, in my view, the most important job those of us who have the privilege to be elected will do. The safety and security of the children in our care is paramount, but beyond that, every child wants and deserves to feel valued, seen and loved for who they are. And I don't think corporate parenting is something done without feeling, care or attention. In all likelihood, we will never meet the children we collectively share parental responsibility for, but you will have a profound impact upon their life. The choices we make about panels, placements, the steps we take to smooth their transition out of care, and the ability to support young people into adult life will have far-reaching consequences. And I think what is most exciting about the changes to the panel in this report is that it rightly places the voice of children in care front and centre, ensuring the panel will be directed and crucially challenged by a wide representation of care experienced people, including those in care as well as care leavers. But it is also practical. We have to be frank. The outcomes for my sons, had they remained in care, are radically different to the outcomes of adopted children. Statistically, care experienced children are more likely to go to prison than to university. That is not a failure of care experienced children, but rather a systemic failure of our care system, one that Reading is proud to lead the way in addressing. Adoption is fantastic, and 10 out of 10 would recommend, but it isn't the right path for the vast majority of children in our care. And we cannot allow care to become a second-class destination or a challenge too difficult to deal with. Like all good parents, you have to be willing to have the tough conversations, listen, change accordingly, even if that isn't easy. We should all be proud that rather than crossing our fingers and hoping for the best, we are taking the positive action needed to improve the outcomes for care experienced children and adults in our community. Care experienced children have real barriers faced in their way, and therefore the steps we take to alleviate those barriers must be real as well. Making experience of care a protected characteristic and reducing council tax for those transitioning to adulthood are real practical steps that will make life easier for care experienced people in our borough, and we should all be very proud to support these recommendations. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor McGoldrick. Could we, Councillor White?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As others have said, all parents want the best for their children, and as corporate parents, we should all want the best for our care experienced children and children in the care system. Greens campaigned for the initial reduction in council tax some time ago for care leavers, and so we are pleased to see that this is being extended. We obviously support this recommended action, and we support the other recommended actions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor White. Councillor O'Connell.
We don't really have anything more to add. I think what we would want to say has already been said, and said very well. Welcome more comments like that in the future. That was an impassioned and heartfelt and correct speech. Thank you for sharing it with us. We will be agreeing with everything in this motion, and it's a lovely outbreak of togetherness on this one.
I see no further indications to speak. So, Councillor Hoskin, do you want to wind up?
Yeah, thank you.
Remember, you only have 5 minutes.
I'll be quicker than that, Mr. Mayor. No, thank you, and thank you all councillors for contribution and all groups. I didn't expect anything other than sort of unanimous endorsement of this, because I do know we have our differences, but people, councillors, take their responsibilities very seriously, and I think this is one of the ones where we is one of our greatest responsibilities. Councillor Robinson's absolutely right in terms of the voice should be right at the heart of this, the voice of our looked after children and care experienced young adults, and that is exactly what we're looking to deliver. I mean, I think it's really important that this is, this is kind of the start of reinvigorating our corporate parenting. What I will say is that we've got really high expectations of all of you in this room. It does go beyond councillors, but actually our role is kind of critically important. So whether that be about when you're out and about as ward councillors, your work within the various different committees and holding us to account, the company and the administration in terms of, and the council as a whole in terms of what we do. All of that's really important. You see the promises. Some of this is now over to you in terms of taking up. Thank you very much, Councillor McGoldrick. Really great, my new fellow ward councillor, to make a sort of maiden speech on this item. Look, we're all, devastated to lose Colette, but I think we can be sure that Finn's an excellent person to take up the mantle and take that forward. So thank you very much, everybody. I'm really delighted by the support for this. Obviously, what really counts is us driving through and delivering, and I'm heartened by the support, and we'll now deliver. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hoskin. Can I see all those in favour of the report? I think that's unanimous. Good, thank you. Moving on to agenda item 8, the renewal of the statement of licensing policy. Councillor Rowland to propose.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm pleased that we are bringing forward this renewal of Reading Borough Council's licensing policy this evening. This policy is reviewed every 5 years, with the current policy in force until the 21st of October. Subject to members' adoption this evening, the draft policy at Appendix 1 will come into force on the 22nd of October of this year. It is also worth noting that this document was recently given unanimous cross-party consent at a full meeting of the Licensing Applications Committee on the 28th of September. Our licensing policy is the document that underpins all of the work that we do as a responsible licensing authority to ensure that we properly address the 4 licensing objectives: preventing crime and disorder, protecting children from harm, preventing public nuisance, and maintaining public safety. It is well and good that the document is reviewed every 5 years as new emerging issues present themselves in society that need to be addressed in a robust and current licensing document. I am pleased to note that as a responsible licensing authority, we have specifically expanded the policy this year to address 2 important areas that I would like to highlight. The tragic attacks in the Manchester Arena bombing of May 2017 brought about additional expectations in line with our protect duty as detailed in section 2.25 of the policy around terrorism awareness. I'm proud that this council offers free training around awareness for large venues in this area. One such session was held only recently and was well attended by venue managers. Awareness to these issues is obviously on our minds in these uncertain times, and I'm pleased that our nighttime venues proactively seek to address training in this area. Additionally, the document is seeking to put into policy the expectations that we have as an authority with our nighttime economy venues, especially around safety for women and girls. This underpins and formalizes the work that the licensing team, along with the police and our nighttime venues and others, have already been undertaking in this town to proactively address these concerns. This work, commonly known as VOG, or Violence Against Women and Girls, encompasses expectations of our town's venues having a duty of care and incorporate awareness training around issues such as spiking, sexual harassment, intimidation, and other safety concerns for women. VOG has seen increased attention since the last review of this policy, although I do note that it was only this last autumn that the Home Secretary's Strategic Policing Requirement 2023 version finally acknowledged that violence against women and girls be listed as an additional national threat. I'm proud to say that Reading has been very proactive on this issue, and at a recent PubWatch conference that I attended along with the Mayor and Councillor Edwards, who's the Vice Chair of the Licensing Applications Committee, very clearly reaffirmed to us that our Reading venues collectively take the challenges around violence against women and girls as the highest of priorities. Mr. Mayor, I would also like to acknowledge your years of dedication to this work, and I know you would also join me in recognizing that there is still work to be done in this areas, and we must remain ever vigilant as we've set out in this document. Reading, however, has seen its fair share of positive attention around what we, backed up by the licensing policy, managed to already put in practice. 2 weeks ago, we received a visit from the Home Office, who wanted to better understand how we in Reading work as a team. That also gave a chance for representation of our venues, which have in the past year won a Purple Flag Award and National PubWatch of the Year Award, to show that working together with a strong licensing policy that underpins this work delivers on our objectives and stays current in addressing emerging challenges, and we can continue to deliver an evening and nighttime economy to be proud of. I therefore move, Mr. Mayor, that the Council adopt the Statement of Licensing Policy as attached to the report in Appendix RS1. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rowland, and thank you for your kind words. Do I have a seconder?
Yes, I'll second and speak briefly now for me.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I thank you very much for Councillor Rowland's words there, which I, of course, agree with completely. All I want to do really is say I would love everybody to vote for this report because it's needed. It's also been produced by officers in a very conscientious manner. It's clear to read, it's comprehensive, and it's needed by the committee. Now, not everybody knows about what the committee does. The people who are on it certainly do, and I can see a few faces around the chamber. It's very much a cross-party committee. It's quasi-judicial, which means that that in hearings, for instance, we don't take a position before we hear the evidence that's given to us. we're a committee of public safety. I don't mean that in a French revolutionary manner. We very rarely guillotine people, even if they've been very naughty. But we do work to make sure that if a member of the public gets into a taxi or walks into a shop or buys a bag of chips after the pub, then they are going to be safe in doing that. And this statement shows you precisely what the committee will and will not do, precisely what will happen throughout. So please support this. But I'd like to end by thanking members here who are on the committee. It is clearly the best and most important committee in the council. I don't think I'm being controversial there. And I would very much urge you to support this. Apart from anything else, if you're a member of the committee in your own interest, because this has formed the framework that we need. We refer to it every hearing whenever we make a decision. So please support it, and thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Woodward. Do I have any, Councillor Edwards?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Obviously, I'd like to point you towards the content of this paper. Right, I opened this a couple of weeks ago before to get into discussion with everybody, and I was absolutely delighted, and I was totally absorbed because how full and inclusive a policy, a piece of paper can push forward, which really, really will change how we're going to work in Reading. I know there's 20 changes, but what it's doing, it's making our town safer, and it's encouraging people to look and think, because you can read this just like any newspaper. Absolutely brilliant use of words. It's also backing the nighttime economy. It's updating everything that we've been from 5 years ago, as Councillor Rowland has said, bringing everything up to date. It's making Reading safer. It will make Reading, especially the nighttime economy, and also the new things that we're planning to do in Reading during daylight hours, to increase our budgets and funding and everything for everybody. So everybody is actually going to start to live a proper life, not a life half hidden. So I ask you, with hands on my heart, I hope you've had a good read of this. Vote for this. It's dead important.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Any other? Got Councillor Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to add to what has been said, we are certainly in support of this and would thank the officers and the councillors responsible for all the hard work and effort that's gone into this. As a member of the licensing committee, we do need clarification. We do need clarity in our documentation, and this does just that. So thank you to all concerned, and please vote in favour.
Any other speakers? No, in which case, Councillor Rowland, do you want to reply?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will be very brief. I do thank each of you that spoke to this. Again, you know, as we know from those of us that sit on the Licensing Applications Committee, we've got to underpin everything we say, and this is what this does, and it also sets out those expectations to our venues, as I reiterated early, who already do an excellent job. I will just also further say that just for my own benefit, please do go to page 69, and please do look at that list of all of the different groups that contribute to helping make Reading safer in the nighttime economy, and give them a vote of thanks. Again, whilst our licensing team does a wonderful amount of work, our police get stuck in and work with our venues and cooperatively with us. If it wasn't for a lot of those players, a lot of those programs listed there, we would not have the success that we do. Again, we will not be complacent. This sets out the ways that we will go forward. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Rowland. Can I see all those in favour of the, I think that's unanimous as well. Good, thank you. Which takes us on to item 9, the high drama for the evening. Councillor Brock to move.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The report we've all been waiting for. Colleagues will all remember last year we made a very substantial review of our constitution, particularly with the intent of simplifying decision making, taking out some of those old redundant passages like the right to bear arms and so on and so forth on the way. And it's worked really quite well, I think. It's been much clearer for members, it's been much clearer for officers, it's made relationships between lead councillors and senior officers, I think, much more straightforward in many cases. So I think we should be really pleased about that. And overall, I would also say, Mr. Mayor, that we should be pleased about the success of the constitution that we do have here at the council. Our committee-based system does a very good job of allowing scrutiny to be conducted alongside the process of making a decision, rather than having the sort of slightly strange show trial theatre that you get at many other local authorities. And of note, a number of other local authorities, including some rather big metropolitan boroughs, have begun looking at our constitution with a view to adopting at least the spirit of it, in some cases moving to the committee system in the manner that we did, rather ahead of the curve, as it looks. So it's a pleasing place to be. All the same, there are lots of little things that come up in the course of a year that require tidying up, in particular around financial regulations, the contract procedure rules, removing references to a few redundant bodies that no longer exist, and that is all really that this report exists to do. It should also be thought of as a counterpart to the next item on the agenda and those changes being made to the terms of reference to the Audit and Governance Committee. But I shan't detain us any longer. I did have a long speech about political philosophy, but I feel it's not the evening for it.
Thank you, Councillor Brock. Councillor Terry?
I second and reserve my right, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a short comment. When I was first elected last year, I did try and undertake reading the entire Constitution, and I slowly gave up. So especially when I learned that it was being reviewed. So I'm absolutely delighted to see this on the table today. And now I've got a new Constitution to read at some point. So thank you.
Any other contribute? Councillor Robinson.
Only just an error, really, on the recommendations. Number 3, point C, we have at the bottom, it says, with terminology included within the new procurement bill when it was introduced in autumn 2024. It is still to happen. It's next autumn. So purely just a thing on the wording there, that's all. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I think heads will roll for that one. Thank you, Councillor Robinson. Yes. Yes. Right. Thank you for pointing that out. Any other contributions? No. Well, I was going to come. Councillor Terry, do you want to defend the error?
No.
No?
No.
Right. Okay. Right. On that basis, Councillor Brock to respond.
Well, we've exposed the monitoring officer, haven't we, as being a kind of time traveller. Which is a nice place to be. But yes, very good point. I assume we can just treat that as a typo and amend accordingly.
OK, on that basis, can I see all those in favour of the item? I think, again, unanimous. Thank you very much, which takes us on to the final item, item 10, which is the SIP for practical guidance. Councillor Terry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Clearly, you meant that this was the highlight report of the evening. I think the title says it all. It's been to Policy Committee. It's been considered by Audit and Governance Committee. I don't feel I need to add anything to the report. I'm sure all the colleagues in the chamber have read it. So I move the recommendations, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I'm very happy to second. Thank you. I think the only thing to note is that these refreshed terms of reference will go into the Constitution immediately. So the next Audit and Governance meeting in January will be under these new wordings. So we look forward to that. And thank you for Councillor Terry for inviting me to second. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any further contributions? No. Councillor Terry, do you want to respond?
No, go to the vote, Mr. Mayor.
Can I see all those in favour? Again, I think unanimous. Thank you very much. And that concludes the business for this evening. Thank you all very, yes, thank you.